First thing that we're going to do is add a 1/4 of a cup of warm water to a bowl to mix in. And then we're going to take the school glue and we're going to do 1/8 of a cup. So it's 2 parts water to 1 part glue. And then we're going to incorporate that really well together. I like to do that with a fork so it really mixes it well like a whisk. You may be wondering, what is gesso and why do we need it? Gesso is an important step to get your canvas or project ready for painting. You can buy gesso ready-made at the art supply store, but it can get really expensive, and it primes the surface for painting. Without gesso, the paint would soak into the weave of the canvas or the grain of the wood. Now, I've seen recipes where they use plaster of Paris, but sometimes it can be really hard to find, and I wanted to make this recipe easy for everyone. You can use cornstarch or you can use baby powder. Both of these work really well. I've tried both. Today's recipe, I'm going to use the cornstarch. So once the glue is really incorporated into that water, we're going to slowly put in the cornstarch until you get a pancake batter consistency. That's what we're aiming for. So there's not really a set amount of cornstarch or baby powder that you put into this recipe. You just add it really slowly, whisking it with the fork so it's nice and smooth until it looks like pancake batter. Gesso dries really hard, making the surface more stiff. And the beauty of gesso is that it can be applied to nearly any surface, much like a primer, and then you can paint on that surface. And this is a cheap alternative to make your own gesso, and I find it works just as well for a fraction of the cost. We're now going to add 1 tablespoon of white acrylic paint. Now you can add any color of acrylic paint if you want your gesso to be tinted, but I mainly just use white. So that's 1 tablespoon, and we're going to incorporate it really well into that cornstarch and water mixture. It's all incorporated really well together, looks like pancake batter, and we are ready to paint with our gesso. You want to seal it in an airtight container. This is just a glass jar that I got out of my recycling bin that had some instant coffee in it. And I'm going to show you, this is a really neat trick on how to make labels for your glass jars so we can remember that this has gesso in it. Now this little trick will only work on a LaserJet printer, but I printed off homemade gesso on a sheet of paper with my LaserJet printer. I'm taking some packing tape and I'm going to lay it right on top of that and then cut it down to size. And then we're going to put it in some warm water and let it soak for about 30 seconds. This is a really great packing tape hack that you can use for your glass jars or your glass bottles to label them. And then we're just going to rub off the paper on the back, and the graphics are going to stay, but the paper is going to rub off all of the rest of that packing tape, and it's going to be sticky, and you're going to be able to stick it on your jar so you'll know what's inside of it. Now we're just going to stick it on the glass jar, and it's good to go, and we're going to know there's homemade gesso in it, and we're going to fill it up. So you want to make sure that you apply 2 coats of the gesso to your project, making sure it's really smooth. You can sand between each coat if you think it needs it, and this will create a smooth, absorbent surface for you to paint on. A common question regarding gesso is if you really need it. Technically you don't, but it does provide a nice, slightly more absorbent surface for you to work on. When you're painting on top of gesso, it does make your colors pop more on your projects. I hope today's tutorial was helpful, and you can now make homemade gesso at a fraction of the cost. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video. And if you love this video, I'm sure you'll love either of these two. Take care.